Olin Island is known for its many different outside animals. Well, in this episode, we're going to uncover some of the inside animals. Come on. Now, I know what you're thinking. When you're here at Olin, you want to be outside, but some of the critters are inside. So I'm here with Heather Murbs of Olin Island with a new little friend. Heather, who is this?
This is Daisy. She's our opossum.
Hello, Daisy. You're so cute.
She has lived here since she was small enough to fit in the palm of your hand. And she was an orphan, so she wasn't born here. She was found out in the wild, and she was no longer with her mother. So somehow she'd been separated from her mother at an age where she was much too young to take care of herself. Sometimes the mothers are killed by cars or things like that, and that's how the babies end up being orphans.
Now, talk to me a little bit about possums. How is their eyesight? I mean, is this an animal that's, familiar with being around?
They do have a reputation for having poor eyesight, and they don't have great eyesight. Obviously, they have a really good sense of smell, though, that helps them find what they need. And they're also nocturnal, so you usually will see them out at night. Possums are really interesting because they're marsupials. They're our only marsupials in North America, which means they have pouches like a kangaroo or a koala bear. And when they're born, they're about the size of a honeybee. The gestation period is, in other words, the period of time that they're growing inside of their mother's body is only 13 days.
Wow.
Compared to a human, which is 9 months. So that's a huge difference. So for 13 days they develop, but they only get to be about the size of a honeybee. And then they're born, and they climb up their mother's body, and they get inside the pouch where she has the milk that they're able to drink and grow. And they stay in the pouch for about 4 months.
Wow.
And then about at that age, they're ready to leave the pouch, and then they hold on to her back. And they have very good grasping hands that they hold on to her fur with, and they then travel around holding on to her back. Speaking of their feet, they have another really cool characteristic. They actually have an opposable thumb on their back feet, not on their front feet. So their opposable thumb does not have a claw, but it's very good for grasping tree branches when they're climbing. And a lot of people think that primates, such as humans, are the only animals with opposable thumbs, but opossums have them too.
Wow, I did not know that. How is the family structure? I mean, do the possums, do they kind of stay?
They don't really have a family structure. In fact, the male has no role in raising the offspring. So he just pretty much leaves.
Interesting.
And so the mother and the babies are on their own, and once they get to be like this size, she would already have been on her own for months.
Okay.
So they don't have a social structure.
Okay. Now, I know we all think of possums of, the cartoons of sleeping, with their tails and hanging down.
Trees, yes.
Does that really happen?
No, they do. Their tail is very good for helping them climb. It does kind of grasp onto things, and I particularly noticed when we're getting her out of her enclosure that she'll grab onto the edges of things with her tail if she doesn't want to go. So she can control it and use it for climbing and things like that, but she's not able to hang from it. They're just too heavy, and the tail will not support the weight of them, hanging and sleeping like that. They don't do that. So
makes sense. I just remember all the old cartoons where they have them hanging down.
Well, the other thing they show them doing often in cartoons and stories is playing dead, playing possum, and they will do that. They don't, as it turns out, they don't do it as often as people think they do. I think people got the idea that as soon as they sense danger at all, they would just roll over and play dead. But it's more of a last-ditch effort. It's more of a last. This is my last chance. I'm about to die, so I'm going to play dead. It's not something that they'll just do, when they're,
They're bored.
Exactly.
Now, tell me, Heather, is this animal a rural animal, or can you find this in the metro areas?
Actually, they are extremely good at adjusting to urban life. So there are opossums all over the city of Savannah, and a lot of people find them to be nuisances. They think, we get a lot of calls saying, I've got this opossum that's getting into my, my garbage. They're hanging out on my back porch. And 9 times out of 10, when I get that call, the first thing I ask is, do you feed your pets outdoors? And almost everybody says yes, cats, dogs, whatever. Well, opossums are not going to pass up a free meal. So if you're leaving a bowl of cat food, which they love, or a bowl of dog food on your porch, then the possum is going to come and eat it. And I actually had a friend who actually lived in the Washington, D.C. area, who had an opossum that was coming in the dog door, into the garage, and actually into the kitchen and eating the dog from the dog food bowl.
Wow.
So they will, yeah, they are good at opening garbage cans. Maybe not as good as raccoons, because raccoons are very good at it, but they will become a pest if they are given the opportunity. But again, you can't really blame them for that because you're not going to pass this up a free, exactly, a free meal. So.
Well, what is the possum more now? I've had a rat when I was a kid, and it looks rat-like. But is it? And you said that possums are marsupial. So where is it more related in the chain of things?
Well, it would be more closely related to a kangaroo or a koala bear.
Wow.
Most marsupials live in Australia, but there are opossums here in North America, and there's also a species of opossum in South America. But otherwise, most of the rest of the marsupials live in Australia. So they are not that closely related to rodents. Basically, they're all mammals. Rodents and marsupials are both mammals, so they're in the same class, vertebrate class. But the next level down in classification is called an order, and rodents have their own order, and marsupials are a separate order.
Wow.
And then just by comparison, we're in the order of primates.
Okay. Now, is the possum native to North America, or did it?
They are native to North America. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't look at her hiding her face.
Oh.
Yeah, because they're mostly nocturnal, so she's.
I'm sure she's unhappy with me right now.
Oh no, she's resting.
I can't blame her.
She's camera shy.
I can't blame her, aren't we all? Now, what's the kind of diet of a possum? What is a possum?
That's a very good question. They are what we call omnivores, which means they eat fruit, vegetables, as well as meat.
Wow.
So they will eat just about anything, which is why our garbage is so appealing to them, because we throw out a lot of things that they would find to be very yummy. Out in the wild, if they're not around human habitation, they would eat insects, they would eat, again, fruits and things like that. They tend to like overripe fruits. She really likes her protein, so she's very fond of hard-boiled eggs.
Oh, wow.
And
it's a healthy possum.
Yes.
That's all. I can take a couple of notes from that. Now, what's kind of the lifespan? How long?
They have a very short lifespan.
Really?
In the wild, they're estimated to live only about 2 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So now in captivity, we've had several that have lived for longer, twice that long. But obviously in captivity, they're given medication when they're ill. They have a constant food source. They're kept, safe and warm and that kind of thing. So, but in the wild, they have a very short lifespan. Now, the interesting thing though is that they are fairly resistant to diseases, and one of the big ones is rabies. A lot of people will say, "Oh gosh, opossums have rabies," and actually, it's very rare to find a rabid opossum. You will find lots and lots of raccoons that are rabid. But opossums are extremely resistant to rabies.
Wow.
So
now is that being looked at, or are scientists checking out why that's happening?
Well, they think it might be because they're a marsupial. They don't know exactly why it is, but that it would be an interesting thing to study.
Oh. So. Well, that's great. That's something I definitely didn't know. And I just want to thank you for bringing Daisy out. I know that she was, cutting into her sleeping time, but thanks for spending time with me. And when you come out to Oakland Island, you get to see Daisy and see what she's nibbling on, hopefully not my cat food. Thanks, Heather. There's a lot more animals to uncover here at Oakland Island. Whether you're a member, a visitor, or a volunteer, you need to come out and get involved. For Oakland Uncovered, I'm Doug Settle. See you on the wild side.